All right. Welcome back in, everybody, to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. I'm Christian Brindle, your host, joined with my co-host, Glenn Shelton, and this episode 76. Good morning, good sir.
Good morning.
It's quite the jacket that you're wearing this morning.
Everything I say on today's podcast episode is a direct communication from Humana.
Oh,
I am
God.
representing the carrier of Humana today on the pod, you guys. I personally feel like I'm trying to save Medicare supplement now. I just want to wear this everywhere. Shout out to Big H. I don't understand why it's black. Shouldn't this be green?
I feel the need to say every word of what was just said is not true. I don't want our contract terminated. I don't want that. I don't speak for that. Yeah. So
obviously entertainment, guys. Come on. We're having fun. It's Thursday.
You don't say it, the lawyers won't care. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a nice touch. You know, the black, the white. I thought it was a nice touch.
It does look good.
I have several green Humana things, whether it be shirts or polos or anything like that. And, you know, the green is nice, but it's almost like a little shocking to wear in public. It's like it really jumps out at you, and it's almost like you're staring directly into the sun in a way.
That's why they didn't do it.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you think that the green would be great, but like, I don't know. I don't seem to wear the green stuff as much because of how shocking it is. You know, when you see it on someone.
Yeah.
It's almost like wearing like a bright yellow t-shirt or like a bright pink t-shirt. You know, people are like, whoa, what is that? You know, it's almost like that a little bit. But no, I don't know. I like the black. I do
like the black. I think it's a nice touch. I'm excited to. I mean, I've had some carrier stuff before, but nothing this nice. I'll tell you that much. This is the nicest carrier swag I've had. So shout out to Mr. Roth over at Humana for hooking me up. Appreciate you, sir.
We love Humana. Fantastic partner for our company, and appreciate everything that they do. Let's start off with this on today's show, and that is the Cigna acquisition has officially gone through as of the last couple of days. And this is one of those things where it was like, I think everybody knew that it was going to happen. I think it had more to do with when it was going to happen. And essentially, I'll kind of go through a little bit of a Forbes article that
Remind me too, because the first deal fell through, right?
I guess it depends on which deal we're talking about. I mean,
when Cigna was trying to sell off their Advantage book.
No, I believe this is the same deal. It's just time. Yeah, it's just taking some time. Let me see if I can pull up this Forbes article and we can go through it.
For some reason, I was under the impression that their first deal didn't go through. It's like the Nissan Honda deal. I was under the impression that deal was good to go, and then we had an employee shatter my dreams. Jake, I know you watch these episodes, Jake. I wanted that merger.
I've been hearing about this acquisition for probably 2 years now, so there's not another one that I'm aware of. There might have been things like that were slowing it down.
Maybe that's it.
Okay. All right, let's jump into this Forbes article here, talking about that. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Cigna has sold their entire Medicare business, meaning all of their Medicare Advantage policies, all of their PDP policies, all of their MedSup policies, and ancillary policies in a $3 billion sale to a Blue Cross Blue Shield company. For those of you that aren't aware, there are 35 or so different Blue Cross Blue Shield companies in the United States. None of them have anything to do with each other. This is the hardest thing for new people to in the industry to grasp. They're like, but it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm like, yeah, but it's a different Blue Cross Blue Shield. It has nothing to do with that Blue Cross Blue Shield or this Blue Cross Blue Shield. Think about franchises. So Blue Cross Blue Shield oversees Texas, Illinois, a couple of different states. And so my understanding is that, and talking with people inside of Cigna, what I've been told is the plan is going to be that not only will the clients just move over to the Blue Cross company, but employees that work on that side of Cigna will basically just move over. Like the infrastructure will just move over. And so it's kind of an interesting thing. My biggest question, I guess, about the whole thing was, okay, here you go. Here's the Blue Cross company's jurisdiction, if you will, the states that it handles: Illinois, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, with more than 26 million people across the country in its various benefits and plans, looking to grow its Medicare Advantage product offering, which are minimal compared to other large health insurers. So the thing that I think really kind of jumped out to me about this when it first got on my radar is why? Why does Cigna want to do this? Of course, we can't do anything other than speculate on this show today, but what are your thoughts? If you're Cigna, Mr. Glenn, why would you want to sell all of your Medicare products?
I don't know. Maybe they're wanting to go in a different direction. Maybe they want to start focusing on, other lines of insurance. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Cigna does under 65 as well, or do they not have any? What else does Cigna do besides Medicare? I guess let's start there.
So Cigna does under 65 ACA.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Cigna does group health. Cigna does a tiny bit of life insurance. Just, various things like that. I would say the majority of what's left would probably be the ACA and the group health.
Okay, here's another ballpark. If you had to guess, how much of their business was Medicare that they just sold off? I need more information to speculate on this. I need you to give me some numbers here.
I don't even have any idea, but I can find out. Let's see here.
So while Christian's doing and I did a little goog myself there a moment ago. I do think there was rumors going on, because that's what it was. I remember now too. Is the rumor mill was churning before it was announced who was going to buy Cigna's Medicare business. When it was made known, I don't know if it was a leak or if they publicly had said it, but there was this rumor mill for a little while there about who Cigna was going to sell to, and Humana was part of that rumor mill. But there was no official deal. That was me just
I mean,
stuff up.
my attitude towards it is like, there's always rumors when it comes to these carriers and things like that. I remember years ago, before the CVS Aetna acquisition, where CVS came in and bought Aetna. Aetna was set to buy Humana. Like, it was actually a proposed deal. And the government came in and blocked it, said it would be a monopoly kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was some time ago. So like things like this are happening and conspiring all the time. My thought process is like, I think Cigna was putting it out there that they wanted to sell this side of their business. And, the ones that ended up going through and purchasing it was HSC. But all right, I'm trying to get some real numbers here to the percentages of Medicare.
I would guess it's at least half of their previous book. That would be my guess. I could totally be wrong, as I've been wrong several times in the first 10 minutes of the show already today. I would guess about half their book was Medicare. What do you think about that guess?
I think it's probably solid. I just don't even. I'm so disconnected from anything group related.
Right.
ACA is becoming more and more of what we do all the time. I would say probably so. I'd say that'd probably be fair.
So it's not like they're shutting down by any means. And the other thing that I definitely don't, let me tell you what I definitely don't think this is, because I'm sure the Chicken Littles, Christian and I talked yesterday, we're going to have a merch store soon, and I will have a Chicken Little t-shirt for you guys. Okay. Chicken Little, it'll be an insurance agent with chicken wings and a big rock about to fall on its head. Something like that. Stay tuned. But for the Chicken Littles out there who would love to grab this headline and say, look, Medicare business sucks. Even Cigna doesn't want to be in it, right? I guarantee you there are some agents out there. Do you remember when the first final rule came out and it was like, oh, my FMO just closed. It was like 24.
It's like 24. Not even 24 hours later. They're like someone's closed their doors. Like
someone's FMO just. I'm like, what?
If anyone actually closed their doors, you deserve to have your doors.
Yeah,
closed.
I'm like, these rules haven't even gone into effect yet.
You're beyond stupid. If you closed your door,
right.
It never even went into can you imagine? They're like, all things must go in the office. 90% off of all of our furniture.
It's like Enron. They're just like shredding and like throwing stuff out the window. It's like, what is going on?
My FMO, close the doors. And the person that said that worked for an FMO here in Utah.
Oh, I didn't. I forgot about that part.
Full blown imbecile. You know what I mean?
It didn't actually. They were just saying that.
If someone worked for me and they put that out there on social media, I would have a strong conversation with Glenn about terminating them. You know what I mean?
Sue them for saying that. But so again, the chicken. Yeah, the Chicken Littles out there, I'm sure, would love to grab this headline and be like, look, Cigna's selling their Medicare business. It's time to get out. Like, clearly, this is a red flag. Like, look. There could be a million reasons why Cigna made this move that has nothing to do with where the industry's at today. This could be a personal business decision. They might say, hey, we're chasing too many lines of insurance. We really want to specialize. We're crushing it in group. This is our most profitable segment. Or maybe it's under 65. Or maybe it's life insurance or something else that they're doing that's going really well. As a business owner, even giant companies, right, that have shareholders and board of directors, like sometimes you have to make these types of decisions where it seems extreme on paper, but now they have this liquidity event where they can potentially reinvest some of this capital. Obviously, I'm sure this has to be a net positive for shareholders, right? I'm assuming that some of this liquidity will make it back to them in some shape or form. So I definitely don't think this is a red flag. I think most likely this is probably a business decision at the top to pursue different lines of insurance, to pursue, I don't know. I guess there is a possibility that maybe Cigna is going to start piecing off their business. Maybe they want to get out mostly entirely. Maybe they're going to cut down to like one thing and be like, hey, we're just going to do this.
So it's estimated.
Okay, here we go.
The Medicare portion products of their business estimated to be a little bit over $50 billion a year, with a total $250 billion a year revenue in 2024. So,
how did they only get $3 billion for that?
I don't know, but
the numbers math isn't mapping on this.
But if those numbers are right, a quarter basically of their business.
Which makes it even more reasonable that they sold it off. The fact that it's less than half. I really only knew Cigna for their Medicare side, but again, I'm super biased, right? From our side of the business, I'm super biased. On the life side, as someone who sold life insurance for years, I don't remember ever considering selling Cigna's life product. Not saying that there's not legitimacy there. It's just it wasn't top of mind, So
I never really
no,
looked at them much for life. I've kind of looked at them more as like the life. It's like they're a health company that has some life products. Sometimes there's like some life companies that have a med sup product, for example. There's several carriers that come to mind with that, where I'm like, I don't really think about you when I think about med sup. You have one, probably doesn't sell a lot of it, but mainly you do life products, and I think that's kind of vice versa for this with Cigna. I think they were a health insurance company that had some life products. Who knows how much they were actually moving in terms of volume of that, but just kind of an interesting little development. It's something I've been following for some time. We have a lot of connections with Cigna. So I've been in meetings, every couple of months over the last year and a half or so, and just getting updates as we go. So to see this actually kind of coming to fruition was definitely interesting. So now the question then becomes, for you as agents, for those of you that are selling, or you're an agent for Cigna, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Well, from my experience, anytime there's an acquisition or, anything like this that happens, the biggest thing that I can think of that's similar to this is when CVS bought Aetna, they had two lines of PDP plans. They had the Aetna PDP plans and the SilverScript PDP plans because CVS owned SilverScript. And they determined, like, we don't need both PDP plans. So they sold the Aetna PDP plans off to WellCare. That's kind of the biggest, the most similar thing to this that I can think of. And in that situation, what ended up happening is it took about a year. And then after about a year, like the plans still stayed under, Aetna. And after about a year, they changed into WellCare plans. So I'm imagining that's what will happen here, without really knowing the full details. I'm speculating that I would imagine we see Cigna plans being Cigna plans for this year, and then in January of next year they turn into Blue Cross plans. That's what I would imagine will happen, because things like this don't happen overnight.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. It'll be interesting to see how smooth the transition is. That's always, something that I'm curious about. The other thing too with these types of mergers and acquisition deals, a lot of times they try to not really change much for the first 3, 6, 12 months.
Yep.
Kind of a weird stat. My father worked at like 3 different companies that got acquired. So
really?
It was really interesting. And he was always kind of in middle management. So it's always really interesting to get like this firsthand perspective of like, what are these gigantic corporations doing after they merge, right? In the first 6 to 12 months, it's like all just researching, what's the current company doing? Getting just like a full inventory of what the actual business is that they just bought, key employees, getting all the dollars and cents lined up where they know, okay, we can completely fire these people. We can completely shut down this part of the business. This is all completely redundant because we already have everything for this at our existing corporation. So I would imagine we'll see something similar with, kind of this transition, because obviously Blue Cross Blue Shield has a ton of infrastructure already, right? So it'll be interesting to see.
Not this one.
Oh, well.
Like I said at the beginning of the episode, 35 different Blue Cross companies.
That's right.
They're in 4 states. They're kind of like, I think people think Blue Cross Blue Shield, they think all over the country. Not even close. There's Anthem. Anthem is pretty nationwide.
Right.
They're the biggest Blue Cross Blue Shield company there is, but most Blue Cross Blue Shield companies are tiny little carriers, because they'll oversee 1 state, 2 states, 3 or 4 states. So this company is growing exponentially with their members on the Medicare side. By doing this acquisition, they're going to grow a lot.
I'm sure
One thing
So-
the Forbes article was talking about was how small they are in comparison to other carriers.
Right.
So I think they're trying to go national with this.
So maybe not the type of, infrastructure that would be like, hey, we're going to can half these people. But I would imagine there might be some things that they're already doing that's redundant to what Cigna was doing, But yeah, it is interesting that this is kind of a reverse eat. Usually it's the bigger company acquiring the smaller company, right? That's generally what these acquisitions look like. So it is interesting. And I'm one of those agents that historically has always thought, oh, Blue Cross Blue Shield, huge nationwide company. And it's taken several beatings from several people who are like, hey, this is actually just one of 30 different Blue Cross Blue Shield companies, because it is essentially a franchise. It is like McDonald's. That's, the best way. You go to your local McDonald's, you can ask, like, is this a corporate owned store or is this a franchise? And half the time it's just a franchise. It's owned by anybody, someone locally, some management company.
Like you think about like Florida Blue, for example. They are only in Florida. They have a tax ID for Florida. They do business in one state out of 50. And a lot of Blue Crosses are that way. Most are one state. There's a couple that are 3 or 4 states, and then you have Anthem that is probably in 30 to 35 states. The Anthem's the biggest one for sure. But yeah, this is definitely a situation of a smaller company buying the book of business, if you will, for a much larger company. Very, very interesting. You don't see this kind of thing very often at all.
I think, if anything, that's the green flag of the industry, right? Is to see someone taking a swing like that versus a consolidation would be more likely to point to a red flag. Someone having to fire sale their book and someone picking it up for pennies on the dollar. I am curious about the numbers behind it though, because
who knows?
Something's not making sense there.
Those numbers came from ChatGPT. For those of you that are curious,
our AI robots.
So who knows? Who knows what the truth?
Our AI overlords giving me wrong information. Maybe it's millions instead of billions. Maybe it's a quarter. Maybe it's a quarter of $1 billion per quarter. So maybe it's like $1 billion annual.
No, I mean Cigna's annual revenue is not $1 billion. What's
their market cap?
Oh, look right now. It's definitely not $1 billion. They'd be out of business by now because they're competing with United, who's a $500-600 billion market cap. Humana's.
I've been on fire with misinformation today. I'm going to go ahead and say
you really have.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's a bill. I started off with misinformation, and it's just kind of been one after another on today's episode. So I think I'm going to stay in my lane and say Cigna's market cap's a clean Billy on today's episode.
Okay. The ChatGPT numbers can't be right either, though, because their market cap is $90 billion. So ChatGPT said their revenue was $250 billion. So throw out those numbers from ChatGPT, but it's $90 billion is their market cap.
Cut that out. Cut that out. Edit.
$90 billion is their market cap.
Okay. Well, so let's assume that the 25% number is roughly accurate. That still doesn't make sense. That still doesn't make sense from a market cap standpoint.
It doesn't. Interestingly enough,
I was also under the impression when the rumor mill first started on this deal that it was only their Medicare Advantage book they were selling and that they were retaining the rest of their Medicare stuff. But maybe that changed.
I haven't heard that.
Maybe that was just the rumor mill.
Maybe we go back to the article. Maybe the article has some more details about that.
Or we go back to the misinformation factory mill, which is Glenn Shelton.
I thought you were going to say the ChatGPT thing.
ChatGPT is also ChatGPT. Me and ChatGPT both just spewing out false information today. We might have to get a fact checker on this show at this rate.
Okay. Let me see what I can find here. So according to the article in Forbes, it is their Cigna Medicare supplement business, Part D business, and Medicare Advantage business. So their entire Medicare book.
Wow. I guess I just love yeah. Okay, someone else in the comments said they thought it was just the MA book too. Okay, I'm not crazy. Thank you. I appreciate those comments. I need more of those. I need more support from you guys. Yeah, I'm curious how the math works on what they sold and what value they got for it, right? I mean, we were talking about books of business on this show recently, and we talked about valuations and how like 2x multiple is like a good rule of thumb to start, but that obviously it could go many different directions. So I would be really curious to try to understand, and maybe we need to do more homework on this and circle back on it. But so I'd be really curious to know.
Here's the terms of the deal. According to the terms of the deal, first announced last year, Healthcare Service has acquired Cigna's Medicare Advantage plans, Cigna supplemental benefits, Medicare Part D drug benefits, and Care Allies, a business that helps medical care providers with various administrative services and contracting. So very interesting. I think people think about these kind of transactions as like it's going to be like an agent buying a book of business from another agent, right? Like they probably are buying it for pennies on the dollar when you really look at it. And in addition to that too, right? Like I think some people also look at it like a private equity purchase where it's like 8, 9, 10, 11x EBITDA kind of thing. And it's not that either because it's a book of business purchase. They're just buying an asset. For some reason, unknown to me, the appearance of this to me is that Cigna was selling at a discount to try to get rid of these policies. Because you're right, the math on that doesn't sound like enough.
No, it sounds way undervalued. Maybe there was, again, so maybe this was a financial problem for Cigna in the sense that their actuaries mispriced their Medicare plans over the years, and now they're paying for it in ways that they can't. And so that's why maybe they had to sell off this portion of their business. I mean, we see that on the life side all the time, where essentially they were, because again, claims for life insurance, a lot of times you're not going to see those roll back in for years, right? So you can come out with whatever price point you want on a life insurance policy, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit! Once the claim, you know, I'm sure there's an official name for the claim period. Once these and you know, you'll see these carriers, they'll do blocks of book of business where like they do a block under a certain business, and then they close that, and then they move on, they start a new block. So it maybe that's what we're seeing. Maybe Cigna had a situation where they couldn't handle the claims that were rolling back based on the block that they had for Medicare, and so they just needed someone else to take over. Now that I'm thinking about how small HCSC is, though, I'm curious if they'll actually keep the Cigna brand. But maybe they're not allowed to if Cigna's going to keep operating under other.
I would say not, because since Cigna's not going out of business or anything like that, they're not like buying the company.
Right.
I would anticipate probably not, but I think you'll probably see HCSC now, you know, having products in a lot of states where in the past they were only in about 4 states. So, you know, like, and I'm sure agents will have to recontract, I would imagine. Like, there's a lot to come in terms of like the next steps on this for agents, but this episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by Everything Senior Insurance. Guys, if you're looking for an FMO in 2025 to be a partner with you and really support the overall growth of your business, Everything Senior Insurance is the one-stop shop to allow you to get plugged in with great resources, whether it's ACA contracts you're looking for, whether it's Medicare contracts you're looking for, whether it's final expense and life contracts that you're looking for. Everything Senior Insurance has got you covered. We provide a free CRM in seven-figure CRM to all of our agents that meet the proper requirements on their contracting and have enough contracts with us. We provide discounted leads with Lead Heroes, discounted virtual assistants with Hire Heroes, and we provide just year-round support to just be there and help you out in your business, as well as fantastic training. Glenn, what do people need to know about Everything Senior Insurance, the FMO?
At Everything Senior Insurance, we've really combined all of our resources to create an FMO that can be a true one-stop shop for a senior insurance agent. Most FMOs have only maybe one resource or even no resources beyond offering that contract. We want to provide value to you as an agent to help you grow your book of business. Or if you want to create an agency, we want to help you grow your agency. And there's so many resources that we have put together to really help you grow your business. So if you are looking for a true partnership, someone that will invest in your business, please reach out to Everything Senior Insurance. We would love to help you grow.
Thanks for listening to this message. And now back to the show. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Let's shift gears because we have a main topic to get to.
We do. Yes.
Let's talk about this episode's sponsor. Glenn, tell the people who's the sponsor for episode 76.
Today's episode is sponsored by none other than Lead Heroes, the #1 senior insurance lead provider in the senior insurance space. Lead Heroes has been offering fixed cost leads for Medicare and final expense for years, over a decade at this point. We are officially announcing today a brand new fixed cost lead, and I could not be more excited about this. We are coming into the off season, and a lot of agents and agencies, and I'm hearing it from IMOs, FMOs, call centers, everyone's wondering, how do I stay busy during the off season? How can I continue to grow my book of business leading into AEP later this year? We have a solution that I believe is one of the best ways you can stay busy, continuing to generate revenue and continue to grow your book, that trumps a lot of other possibilities of what you could be marketing during this time. So officially, we're announcing fixed cost dental vision hearing leads from Lead Heroes at just $10 per lead. Unbelievable opportunity for the agent with the right mindset who understands that you can grow your book of business. You can market Medicare to these folks down the road. You don't have to worry about CMS compliance, TCPA compliance, when I'm talking about all these different marketing rules, because they are your client, right? Once they're on the books, now you can offer them other lines of insurance, other policies, and really continue to grow that lifetime value. The lifetime value, and we'll get into this here in a minute with our main topic today, but the lifetime client value of a dental vision hearing client is not going to be nearly comparable to the lifetime client value of a Medicare client. But if you can have a dental vision hearing client become a Medicare client, now you just really hit the lottery in terms of ROI from your marketing spend. So could not be more excited about this. We'll have the link in the comments here momentarily. So any of you who want to jump on dental vision hearing leads right away, you guys can jump on that. So again, just $10 per lead for an exclusive fixed cost dental vision hearing lead that comes with the recording of that original phone call. So you know this isn't just a name and number we're offering you. This is someone that actually said they want to talk to an agent about dental vision hearing benefits. So that is today's sponsor and gives us a very nice segment right into the main topic today: how to grow your business as an agent with dental vision and hearing.
Yes. Transitioning into that. And by the way, guys, I mean, these leads, man, I mean, what a great inexpensive way, right? To grow your book of business. It's a great thing that you can use in the off season. Like Glenn said, and we'll get into this more, but you can once if you are able to sell a dental vision hearing policy or a dental policy to somebody, you're able to then come back later and be able to, sell them another policy later without any type of compliance rules because they're your own client. So it's a great thing. And dental vision hearing is something that seniors, as long as I've been in the business, have been after and wanting help with. It's such a great opportunity, I feel like. So transitioning into that, right? How to grow your business with dental vision hearing plans. Okay. Over the years, we've sold a lot of dental vision hearing internally. We sell for a lot of different companies. There's probably, depending on the time of the year, 3 to 5 different companies that we're selling dental vision hearing products for, depending on which ones makes the most sense for the client. And I wanted to start off by kind of reiterating the story about my father. For those of you that haven't heard
is
it.
a great story.
Because there's a lot of you out there that I feel like are like this, and I think it's almost like a parable. You know what I mean? Like, the Bible has parables, and like, the man was beaten and left for dead on the road. The merchant came by and saw him and went to the other side of the road and just passed. But the good Samaritan came and took care of him, nursed his wounds, like this kind of parable. So long story short, I started in the business, and like many people in the business, I was second generation. So I came in as a downline agent for my father at 21. My dad had been an agent for 25 years at that point, had a book of business, had, an office, had a part-time employee kind of thing. So a nice little agency. And I remember when he was training me, one thing he would say is there's no good dental vision hearing plans. There's no good dental insurance plans. And he believed it. Like, it was like he was passionate about it, like they're garbage. And so I would hear from time to time, I'd notice, over the years, that he would have clients call in wanting information on dental vision and hearing insurance. And I'd hear him on the phone, and he would spend more time trying to talk them out of buying a standalone policy than it would take to just sell the policy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'd be like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the client would turn around and go to the carrier to go direct to a carrier and buy it anyway.
Yep.
So when we bought his book of business, probably about 3 years ago now, one thing I noticed was how many of those clients had dental vision hearing policies that did not have them through us, of course. There was very few, if any, on the books. And, I was like, man, I'm like, look at all these dental plans that could have been sold over the years.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of you out there that are like that like, you don't think they're any good for whatever reason.
Yep.
And so you like, it's almost like a holier than thou attitude. You're going to talk your client out of it, but they want it. Then they go buy it somewhere else without you. And then you're giving that agent the ability to have a foot in the door and steal your main product later. It's selling the policy is not only brings in extra revenue, but it protects your business, protects your client. Like, there's so many things about this, and there's so many different directions we could go, but I just wanted to start off with that story because there are a lot of agents out there that are like that.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I don't sell dental policies to my clients because they are not good plans. and like, you know what I mean? Like, my attitude on that and on if they're good or not has
I'm
always
going to
been,
clip that and run that as an ad. I'm going to get that clip. I'm going to clip it. Like, don't be like this, agent. I don't sell dental policies to seniors. They don't want them.
They're British.
And they don't pay me any commission either.
There's no commission in the dental policy. I'm sorry. I don't know why they're British.
No, that's a great move. I love that. That's fantastic.
My attitude towards it is like any insurance, it's based on how much the client uses it. Do you look at your car insurance as a waste of money if you don't get in an accident? Technically speaking, by the same rules, it probably is, right? Because you're not filing a claim. You're paying out more than it's paying you. Health insurance, the same thing. I feel like it's a good product that, like anything, is there to protect you from massive out-of-pocket on the dental side when it comes up. And I think if a client is actively trying to use it, like they can use it for glasses, they can use it for hearing aids, dental vision hearing products, like it can pay for itself if they're actively looking for opportunities. Yeah, like everybody gets their teeth cleaned every 6 months. Like it doesn't take much, right, for it to pay for itself.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say here, and there's also some great comments. I appreciate some of you saying I used to think they were garbage too. I love that
I'm not talking about anyone in particular, by the way. Like if there isn't, I haven't looked at any comments. If there are any comments on the stream,
no one's attacking you yet.
I promise I'm not talking specifically about you or anything. I'm just trying to be funny. I'm trying to be attempting.
Trying to be funny is the key word here. We still haven't decided on a name for our audience yet, listeners. I know we had talked once calling them millionaires, future millionaires. I don't feel like that really ever stuck or want to stick. I was thinking of shortening 7 figures to figgies. We got some figgies in the audience. I don't know if you have any.
The figs?
The figs. We've got the figs watching live right now, listening to the
figs.
Got some live figgies. So a couple things. So one, Freebie Friday is tomorrow. We're going to give away an enormous amount of dental vision hearing aids. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss this. All you have to do is comment on either this stream today or one of the streams from this week. This is our 4th episode of the week. So 4 opportunities to win. I'd like to have at least 10 winners. So there's going to be a huge opportunity to win on Freebie Friday, which will be announced tomorrow. Late Friday, or sometimes we announce that like Saturday morning, but it will be announced. We haven't missed a single week yet this year. So super excited about that. Kathy, appreciate you. She says, if a person wants dental, you sell them dental, which is essentially what Christian was just saying. Absolutely 100% agree with that. I've been on both sides of this. I've told this story on the pod before. My dental was accidental death. I used to refuse to sell it. If someone wanted it, I wouldn't write it. I'd either force them into a level product or I'd say, go talk to someone else if they really wanted just that. Because I just didn't believe in the product. I didn't believe in it. But then I got to a point, Mutual of Omaha actually had a great accidental death. They probably still do. It was super cheap. And anytime someone was like, yeah, I really just want accidental. I don't want to pay for actual blah, blah. And I'd give them my spiel like, hey, it needs to be a car accident or you have to slip and fall off the roof if you really want this claim to pay. So it's not like level coverage where when you die, that payment is coming through to your family. I'd make sure to explain that, but a lot of times people just get it in their heads. They want this. And so you just write it because again, just like I mentioned earlier, you want someone on the books because now you can contact them. You have a reason to call them. You have a reason to follow up. You have a reason to send them a letter. You have a reason to send them an email. And hey, Mrs. Jones, we have XYZ policy, with us. I just want to let you know, I'd love to schedule a review with you to see if this is still the right policy. There's so much opportunity once someone's on the books. I remember one of those accidental death policies. It was like a $15 a month policy. It essentially generated no revenue for me. But who cares? That's not what it was about at that point in the game. Once I really understood what the goal was, it's a policy. It's a policy. It's a client. It's someone that I can now reach out to who's bought something from me, who has a much higher propensity to buy something again from me because they already bought something, even if it was just $15 a month. So that being said, I think the dental vision hearing, the spectrum of these policies, one is, I think it's the chance of a senior having a gap in one of these 3 is through the roof statistically. I could make up numbers like I've been doing all episode today. I'm not going to, but it could easily be 70% of, so we'll throw a number out. I would say easily 70% of seniors could have a hole. Let's say 2 out of 3 seniors could have a hole where they need help with either their hearing aids, they need to go get their hearing checked, or some sort of vision related issue. They need to go to the eye doctor or dental. It is such a nice wide coverage of opportunity when you're having these conversations with a senior. So also the premium, here's the other thing, is if you sell dental, vision, hearing versus just a dental policy, a lot of times the premium's higher. So you'll end up making more money on it. So better coverage for the senior, higher commission for you as the agent, and an incredible way to segue into other products like obviously Medicare later down the road.
Yeah. I think there's so many things here in terms of the value for the agent.
Do you want to get into specific DVH plans or carriers? If someone was like,
I don't want to say carriers. I don't want to get in trouble or anyone mad at me. But we can talk in generalities. We can talk in
Sure.
generalities. I think for me, guys, the some of the things, like, not only, right, do you protect your business, right? You're keeping another agent from selling a dental plan and using that as a foot in the door, because there's a lot of smart people out there that are doing that,
right?
Myself included. I mean, I'm not selling anymore, but, like, our company, that's a philosophy.
Absolutely.
And so, it protects your business in that way. Like I said, you are increasing your retention. We've talked about this a lot, right? Like, the more policies you have in the house and the more policies you have on the client, the less likely you're going to lose the client. Remember the story, for those of you that watch the show religiously, of the lady at the bank I talked to, and she was talking about how much she hated her PNC agent. Hated word she used, and they're like, I could hear it in her voice. She's like, I hate him, and I was like, whoa! But she had 5 policies with the guy, and she's like, it's too much of a pain to change, but I hate him. And I was like, that's what I need right there,
I want my clients to hate me, but stay with me.
Even if you hate me, you don't leave, like, that's the power of bundling right there.
That's right.
In a nutshell. But of course, not in, above and beyond all of that, right? We've talked a lot about, the value of being able to get to the main product or retaining the main product, a lot of focus on the main product. I mean, you sell a lot of dental plans, it can add a lot of extra revenue to your business. A lot of extra revenue. So a lot of dental plans, depending on the carrier, like I said, I don't want to get too much into specifics, but, like,
how about a number? How about, like, how many dental? Because again, this is a newer product in the sense compared to, like, something like MedSup, right, which has been around forever. But now there's a lot more action from these carriers on dental, vision, hearing. How many dental, vision, like, top of mind, if you were talking to a senior, how many different dental, vision, hearing carriers could you have in your pocket right now?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to have a top 3, but I'll probably have, like, 2 on the bench. So I have a total of, like,
easily 5. You could easily have 5, right? And
but the majority of the sales will probably go to the top 3.
Sure, which totally makes sense. I'm not arguing here for go get contracted, go try to sell 6 different plans. You don't need to do that by any means. I think having a top 3 is smart. Here's another big part of these plans that I think makes them so beneficial for you as an agent and for your client is there's typically a 0-day elimination period with these, depending on the carrier, right? So obviously, I'm not going to try to blanket statement every single plan, but one of the clients at Lead Heroes that we work with, and to give a little more backstory about our experience with dental. So we've been actually doing dental marketing for years, but it's been falling under the custom calling that we do, where you pay a flat hourly rate. So we have a lot of experience. What's new is offering it at a fixed rate. That's what's new. We haven't done that before. But what we have done for a long time is generate leads for dental through our custom calling, where we're reaching out, and based on the script that's provided to us from our client, we have a very specific thing that we're saying, which a lot of times, again, dental, vision, hearing was a huge thing of what we've been doing. So from some of our clients, the conversations I've had, if it's a 0-day elimination period, which means they can walk in, they can sign up for the policy today, walk into the dentist office tomorrow and use that coverage, right? If the carrier has that as part of the dental plan or the dental, vision, hearing plan, you can't necessarily do that with other types of insurance. Other types of insurance, you have to wait to use those benefits. So one strategy, and here's going to be some gold I'm going to share with you guys. This is the strategy from someone who's making millions selling dental policies, dental vision hearing policies. How do you retain them? If you sell the policy, how do you make sure they're not going to cancel it, right? Because the last thing anyone wants is to call up Mrs. Jones, say, hey, I've got a great dental vision hearing policy for you. You sign them up, and then next month, Mrs. Jones is like, man, screw Christian. I didn't even want this policy anyways. They cancel it. You get a charge back. You spent money on the marketing, right? If you bought leads for it, etc., that becomes a huge loss for everybody. So how do you make sure that stays on the books? And this Lead Heroes client, I'll tell you a little bit about their strategy that I think is genius. And I totally believe it in the numbers, that the feedback that was given to me. They would actually take the time to set up their first cleaning with their dentist after they sold the dental policy or the dental vision hearing policy. Their stats essentially, and this is a call center. This is someone selling over the phone, which typically has a lower persistency than if you're selling face to face. Their stats, if they took the time, I'm not saying that necessarily it was the agent setting up, it may have been like a customer service rep or someone else, but the point is that if they got the first appointment scheduled after that policy was sold, where hey, Mrs. Jones, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, you're going to go into the dentist, you're going to have your first exam, your first cleaning, and your new policy you just got today is going to take care of it. Or you'll be able to use that policy on your first visit, right? They essentially were retaining like 90-95%. Now, if they were just, shotgunning these policies out and they weren't taking the time to do that, there was a lot more fall off. I want to say it was like 1 out of 4 they were losing. So they had an incredible retention by taking the time to do that. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that to retain these clients, just an extra little nugget. If you're wanting to take an extra second, it's also kind of a nice service. If you're really, we had Josh Youngs on the pod yesterday. He was talking about how do you elevate your customer experience. That's kind of a nice thing to do for your client, right? Hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to hand you off to my customer service rep. They're actually going to schedule this first exam for you. It's super important that we get your teeth looked at right away. So they're gonna make sure you get in ASAP. So I thought that's something super interesting.
Yeah, that's unique, creative.
Yeah.
For sure. I would argue if you're a field agent, you should have to do nothing and keep 90%.
Yeah, for sure. That's a call center strategy.
Yeah,
that's a telesales strategy.
But it's not a bad strategy to take if you're having trouble with fall off.
Sure.
I think it's great. So circling back, I guess, a little bit because we're running out of time here. Dental plans. Because we haven't really talked any specifics really in terms of that. Dental plans are going to be, for the most, a lot of them are street level commission being somewhere between 10% to 40% or 45%, depending on the carrier. If you're talking, let's say 40% or 30%, it depends on the carrier. Let's say the client is paying $45 a month. The annualized premium is $540. So let's say we're talking about a 40% commission on that. Your annual commission in that scenario is $216. Let's say it's a 30% commission. Then your commission is about $162, right? So you can see how these can definitely add up and help if you're doing a good job and actively pursuing bringing them up on appointments. I've always said, I think there's good ways and bad ways to bring up dental plans in your appointments. But even if you're bringing them up at all, even if you're bringing them up bad, it's a numbers game. If you bring it up to 10 clients and let's say 1 or 2 buy, that's a number, right? And then as you get better, you formulate a strategy. You start to, notice what's working, what's not working. We have a lot of training on this, on scripts and things like that in the university, for those of you that are in there. But like, if you can get to 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, that's a great, value to your business. Your attachment rate is getting high and everything like that. A lot of dental plans, when they provide first day coverage, it's going to be limited. So there's going to be two categories. You're going to have your traditional 12-month waiting periods, and then you're going to have plans that give you first day coverage and everything. The first day coverage on the plans that provide that are going to be 20%, maybe 15%, 20% the first year. Then in year 2, it might go up 50%, 60%, something like that. But the point is they can get first day coverage day 1 on anything.
Right.
And not all dental plans are going to do that, but there's usually in most markets at least a couple that will provide that first day coverage. You have dental plans now that will have no maximum payout limit. That was unheard of when I first started selling dental, in my early years of my career.
There's a question here from someone on the stream I want to ask you, and you'll know better than I do, but how well do DVH plans coordinate with MAPD plans?
Kind of depends on the plan itself.
Right.
So
subjective.
Like the best, it depends. It's going to go carrier by carrier, but like a lot of DVH plans will have the option to where, not all, but a lot of them will have the option to where the client can either have their dentist office bill or they can get reimbursed. So like if they're dealing with, let's say, an MA plan that won't coordinate or the DVH plan won't coordinate, like you got to check with both insurances and see how they coordinate. But if they don't, for whatever reason, and you have a DVH plan that will reimburse, then the client can just submit for reimbursement on the claim in that situation. So it just depends on the plans, but a lot of them will. And, there's different ways you can kind of go about it if you, kind of look at it from that lens. But yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, there's always reimbursement. And if it's a plan that reimburses, a lot of the dental plans do.
Nice. What about MedSup? Do you feel like dental vision hearing pairs better with MedSup or Medicare Advantage, or is it really subjective to the plan, you feel like?
I think it's subjective to the plan. I think in general, it's an easier cross-sell with MedSup because MedSup doesn't come with any benefits. And a lot of times Medicare Advantage plans will. It's going to kind of depend, I feel like, in your area on how strong the DVH benefits are on the plans in your area. Like I'll look at some plans where like
another variable.
They're really good. They're
Yeah.
really good. And it's like, wow, there's probably nothing else you need. Other areas like it provides very little. But this past AEP, a lot of areas had their Medicare Advantage plans strip their DVH benefits. A lot of areas with a lot of carriers. So that opportunity to cross-sell with an MA plan is probably higher than it's been in a long time.
That is such a great point. We did see benefits get stripped out a lot of these Medicare Advantage plans. So more holes than ever in coverage among seniors, whether it's a MedSup or a Medicare Advantage plan. So I know we're getting kind of towards the top of the hour here. Why don't we jump into some final thoughts regarding dental vision hearing? We might have to have a part 2 on this one. We spent a lot of time on that acquisition conversation.
We did.
So we might have to have a part 2. So definitely comment below if you guys want to hear more about dental vision hearing and how you can utilize it to grow your book of business, to grow your agency, or how to best work dental vision hearing leads. Maybe we have a whole conversation about that, right? Because there's a way to do it. There's also another conversation to be had here about how you can bundle dental vision hearing in with other products like final expense and Medicare. So there's a lot to be said here. And unfortunately, we had a lot of conversation this morning on the acquisition topic. But final thoughts on dental vision hearing, Mr. Brindle.
I think if you're not selling dental vision hearing, you should. I think there's countless benefits that we've kind of lined out over the course of this episode. I think being almost religious about bringing it up on every appointment is a very important key. It needs to be part of your sales process. And I think for the most part, a lot of times you can sell it with Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplement products. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be areas that some of you guys are in that it just probably doesn't make sense with the MA product. Understandable. but a lot of areas it will make sense. The med sup, it will always make sense. Like the med sup should just be like easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Automatic.
When I was selling, my dental vision hearing med sup attachment rate was like 70%, because I would present it to them like I'd present a PDP. You need this. You don't have this in your med sup. You have to have this.
Right.
You know, and so there's no reason why that couldn't be the case if you sell a lot of med sup. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's a great product. We've talked about this already in the episode, but it's guaranteed issue. There's a lot of plans that provide first day coverage. It's an easier product, I feel like, to sell today than it's ever been. When I first came into the business, there in our state, there was one DVH product that I was aware of. It was like $35 a month or $40 a month, had $1,000 or $1,500 max benefit payout, and that was it. It was kind of crappy, and then had a traditional 12-month waiting period. And I was like, this sucks, but it's all we had. I sold the hell out of it at the time. There's so many choices now. There's so many options, so many good plans. And so, yeah, and I think there's multiple benefits. You make more money. The client's covered better. They're going to get the policy without you if you don't sell it to them. You know, history has proven that. And you protect your retention, protect your book of business, everything in between. So that's my final thoughts, guys.
I love it. We've talked a lot about cross-selling on this show already. And there's so many different products and policies that you can offer as a solid cross-sell. I think dental vision hearing is easily in the top 3 for me, if not potentially one of the number ones. But I think this is such a great opportunity. And we'll get into some more. We want to talk about all these opportunities for you guys going into the off season, because I do hear these conversations. I'm talking to agents every day. I'm talking to agency owners, call centers, IMOs every day. You know, we're coming into the off season. What are you guys going to do? Or how are you going to market? You know, this, and that. So we want to talk more about opportunities to grow your agency, to grow your book of business in between OEP and AEP, which again is, you know, the off season as we call it. So there's no need to put your feet up on your desk and say, hey, call me in September. Like, there's no need to do that. You can continue to write business. You can continue to grow. And there's a lot of great ways of doing that. And we want to continue to help you guys do exactly that. So those are my final thoughts today, you guys. Again, Freebie Fridays tomorrow. Comment below on today's stream or one of this week's stream. This is our 4th episode this week. We will be giving away a ton of dental vision hearing leads from Lead Heroes. If you'd like to purchase those, they are only $10 per lead, a minimum order of 30. So I'll make sure to have that link in the comments below this stream once we wrap up here. I appreciate everyone who watches and listens to the show. Christian, tell them what they should do if they're watching and listening. What should they do?
Guys, if you made it all the way to the end of the episode, what you should do is you should comment on the live stream if you're watching on that. Comment hashtag Team Replay. I love to see who's watching the replay to be entered into Freebie Friday. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube if you are watching this video on YouTube. Make sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on Spotify, whatever platform you might be digesting the content today on. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Here's to your massive success. Thanks, everybody.